Have you ever woken up and thought, very quietly, why am I doing all this? Not shouted, not dramatic, just there. The room is still the same, the ceiling has not collapsed, the world has not ended during the night, and yet the question is already sitting on the edge of the bed, patient, almost polite. Why am I getting up? Why am I moving forward? Why am I repeating yesterday with a slightly different shirt? This question does not arrive during a storm. It does not come with thunder or tears. It comes between two alarms and a cup of coffee that tastes exactly like yesterday's. That is why it is so disturbing. It slips in when everything seems fine, when life is functioning, when you are doing what you are supposed to do. I am Albert Camus. I am speaking to you tonight because this question once sat with me too, just as quietly. And because when a question arrives this way, it deserves to be listened to, not silenced, not rushed, not covered with noise. I am not here to diagnose you. I am not here to repair you. I am certainly not here to push you forward with borrowed enthusiasm. I am here to keep you company for a moment, the way one human being does when the night stretches and pretending becomes tiring. This thought you had this morning or last night, or maybe many nights in a row, is not a breakdown. It is not a failure. It is not something shameful that needs to be hidden so the day can continue smoothly. It is something else. It is clarity knocking softly, without violence. Most people think this question only belongs to extreme moments, moments of collapse, moments when life is visibly falling apart. But that is not how it usually works. This question often appears when life is stable, when the routine is solid, when nothing is obviously wrong. You have obligations. You answer messages. You plan the week. You keep going. And still, something inside you asks, almost apologetically, why? That is what makes this question uncomfortable. It does not accuse the world. It does not complain. It simply looks at your life as it is and wonders if movement alone is enough. And here is the first thing I want you to hear clearly. This question does not come from weakness. It does not come from fragility. It does not come from a lack of gratitude. It comes from lucidity. It comes from the moment you stop running, just long enough to notice that motion does not explain direction. You are not broken for asking this. You are awake. That is all. That is what makes this question uncomfortable. And tonight, I will not rush to silence it. We will stay with it, slowly, together. Not to fix it, not to escape it, but to understand what it reveals. By the end of this journey, you will not receive a grand answer carved in stone. You will receive something quieter and far more useful. A way to stand inside this question without being crushed by it. A way to live without borrowed meanings. A way to answer why live without lies, without illusions, and without turning away from life itself. If you are listening to this late at night or early in the morning, you are exactly where this channel belongs. Sleepless society is a place for restless minds, where poets and thinkers return from the past to shed a little light on our modern emptiness. If these words give you a bit of air, you are welcome to stay. We return often, always slowly. I did not grow up hating life. Quite the opposite. I love the sun. I love the sea. I love bodies, laughter, the taste of salt on the skin, the simple joy of running after a ball with friends. I love life too much to accept vague explanations about it. and that was the first time I realized something unsettling. The question did not come from despair. It was born from my deepest attachment to life. I did not come to philosophy by escaping life. I came to it by holding on to life too tightly. I was born under a bright sun near the sea, where bodies move easily and laughter rises without effort. I loved the physical world. I loved swimming until my muscles burned, running after a ball with friends, feeling the weight of heat on the skin, the salt in the air, the simple pleasure of being alive without asking permission. That is why abstract ideas always made me suspicious. A philosophy that forgets the body, that floats above life instead of touching it, never convinced me. I did not want concepts that explained existence from a distance. I wanted words that could survive the sun, the street, the noise, the contradictions of real days. I wanted a way of thinking that did not require closing my eye to live. And then reality intervened. Not gently, war arrived. Injustice became ordinary. Death appeared without reason, without symmetry, without lesson. People disappeared not because they deserved it, not because it made sense, but because history moved carelessly through them. I saw suffering that no explanation could justify, and beauty that no tragedy could erase. That is when precision became necessary. Not cruelty, not pessimism. Precision. When you have seen too much to lie comfortably, you stop using vague words. You stop hiding behind comforting ideas. You learn to say exactly what is there, even when it is uncomfortable. I did not lose my love for life in those moments. I did not become cold. I became attentive. I realized that loving life does not protect you from questioning it. Sometimes it does the opposite. The more you care, the harder it becomes to accept easy answers. The more intensely you feel alive, the more unbearable it becomes to pretend that everything fits into a neat explanation. We live like this too, surrounded by beauty and horror at the same time. A peaceful morning followed by disturbing news. A message from someone you love next to an image you wish you had not seen. We hold warmth and violence in the same hand, often on the same screen. We digest everything quickly, almost politely, and then we move on. But something accumulates, slowly, quietly, and one day the question returns, not as an accusation, but as a consequence of paying attention. That is when I understood something essential. The problem was not that life was unbearable. The problem was not that it was empty. The problem was something else entirely. It was not life itself that troubled me, but the strange collision between our hunger for meaning and the silence that answers it. I needed a name for what I was facing, not to make it heavier, but to make it clearer. Humans are meaning-seeking creatures. We ask why almost before we learn how to speak. We want reasons, directions, explanations. We want to know where we stand and what this effort is leading toward. That desire is not cultural, it's biological. It is written into us. And the universe offers nothing in return. No explanation, no reply, no justification. It continues exactly as it is, indifferent to our questions, untouched by our anxiety. You can look to the sky, study the stars, measure time, count centuries. You will not find a reason waiting for you there. Only motion, only facts, only silence. I call this encounter the absurd. Not because life is ridiculous, but because of the collision itself. The clash between our need for meaning and the world's refusal to provide one. It is like calling into a vast open space and hearing nothing back, not even an echo. Your voice leaves you and disappears, as if it had never existed. Like a small earthworm suddenly aware, suspended in the middle of space. No ground beneath it, no sky above it, only distance, and yet still there, still breathing, still absurdly alive. This moment is unsettling, but here is what matters. That discomfort is not a defect. It is not a weakness. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is the normal condition of a conscious being living honestly. The absurd is not an illness. It is awareness meeting reality without filters. When people feel this tension, they often think they are failing at life. They believe others have answers they somehow missed. They assume everyone else knows something secret. But there is no secret. There is only a silence most people rush to fill. Seen clearly, the absurd is almost relieving. It explains why so many explanations feel thin. It explains why borrowed meanings never quite fit. It explains why even success, comfort, and recognition sometimes leave a strange hollow behind them. Nothing is broken in you. You are simply hearing the world as it is. The universe is not hostile. It is not cruel. It is not playing a trick on you. It is simply busy being a universe. It spins, expands, decays, repeats. It does not pause to reassure us. And once you accept this, something shifts. The panic softens. The question becomes sharper. Once you see this clearly, one question becomes unavoidable. What do you do with a life that refuses to explain itself? To make this tension visible, I turn to an old story. Not to decorate an idea, but to give it a body. Sisyphus was condemned to push a rock up a mountain. Each time he reached the top, the rock fell back down, and he had to begin again. No explanation, no progress, no final release, just effort, followed by loss, followed by effort again. This story is often told as a cruel punishment, but cruelty was never what interested me. Pain alone does not explain why it stays with us. What struck me was repetition, the rhythm of the task, the fact that nothing truly changes except the one who keeps pushing. Sisyphus is not tortured by suffering. He is confronted with continuity. That is why the story never felt ancient to me. It felt familiar, because this is not a myth from the past. It is a description of a life many people already live, quietly, without naming it. We wake up, we work, we pursue objectives, we rest, we repeat. We reach milestones that promise satisfaction, and before the feeling has time to settle, another task appears, another goal replaces the last. The rock changes shape. Sometimes it looks like a career, sometimes like money, sometimes like recognition, love, security, or purpose. The mountain changes names too: responsibility, stability, success. But the movement remains the same. Push, climb, begin again. We usually call this stability. We call it building a life. We call it being reasonable. The Greeks were more honest. They called it eternal labor. And yet, repetition itself is not what exhausts us most. Human beings are capable of effort. We can endure routine. We can even find comfort in it. What truly wears us down is something subtler. It is the expectation that one day the climb will finally deliver a lasting happiness, that one day the rock will stay at the top. That effort will eventually be rewarded with peace. We keep telling ourselves, just a little further, just one more achievement, just one more change. And when peace does not arrive, we assume the problem is us, that we've chosen the wrong rock, the wrong mountain, the wrong life. Here, a different question quietly emerges. What if the problem is not the rock itself, but the way we imagine happiness? What if exhaustion does not come from repetition, but from the hope that repetition should end? What if suffering is not caused by effort, but by the promise that effort should eventually exempt us from effort? This is the moment most people turn away, not because the question is impossible, but because it is uncomfortable. They distract themselves, they decorate the climb, they convince themselves that meaning will appear later, somewhere beyond the next turn. They keep pushing, but they stop looking. I chose to stay with the question. At this point, many people look for an exit, not a dramatic one, not a visible one, a discreet exit. They stay busy. They fill their days with noise, with obligations, with plans, with distractions that give the impression of movement. Others adopt ready-made meanings, ideas already shaped, already comforting, already approved by tradition or by the crowd. And some simply pretend the question never appeared, as if ignoring it could erase the moment it was felt. I do not judge these responses. They are deeply human. They are ways of protecting oneself from vertigo. When silence becomes uncomfortable, it is natural to want to cover it quickly. When clarity feels heavy, it is tempting to replace it with certainty, even borrowed certainty. These strategies work for a while, sometimes for years. But once the question has been seen clearly, something changes. Distraction no longer feels innocent. Ready-made meanings no longer feel solid. They begin to sound hollow, like answers spoken too quickly. And pretending that the question does not exist requires a constant effort. You must look away again and again. You must keep running. I refused that exhaustion, not because I was stronger than others, but because something in me would not cooperate with forgetting. Once you have tasted lucidity, even briefly, going back to sleep feels like a second betrayal, not of the world, but of yourself. This is where revolt begins, and it is often misunderstood. Revolt is not anger. It is not rage against existence. It is not destruction, chaos, or refusal of life. Revolt, as I understood it, is quieter and far more demanding. It is an inner decision, a refusal to disappear inwardly, a choice to remain present in a world that offers no final explanations. The world does not explain itself. I choose not to turn away. That sentence contains no promise, no guarantee, no hidden optimism. It does not say that things will improve or that meaning will appear later. It simply defines a position, a way of standing. You stop negotiating with reality. You stop asking life to justify itself before you agree to live. This kind of revolt changes the texture of existence. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are no longer postponing your attention until some future moment when everything will make sense. You accept that there may be no ultimate explanation, and you decide to stay anyway. Staying is not passive. It is not resignation. It is an act of strength. It requires more courage to remain lucid than to escape into illusions. It requires more honesty to live without guarantees than to hide behind answers that feel comforting but false. When you choose to stay, You stop being pushed forward by fear or expectation. You begin to stand on your own ground. The absurd does not disappear, but it loses its power to paralyze you. You are no longer crushed by the question. You are walking with it. And when you stop asking the world for permission, when you stop waiting for meaning to arrive before you allow yourself to live, something strange begins to happen. Once you stop asking the world to explain itself, something quietly opens. Not a revelation, not a miracle, a clearing. You realize there is no external judge watching your life from above, no cosmic score being tallied, no final evaluation waiting to tell you whether you lived correctly or failed the test. This realization can feel frightening at first. We are used to believing someone is counting, that something, somewhere, will validate our effort. But once that idea dissolves, a different feeling appears, relief, a deep one. You do not need to justify your existence. You do not need to prove your worth. You do not need to become exceptional in order to deserve being here. Freedom begins there. Not the freedom to do anything without consequence, but the freedom to stop living as if you are constantly being examined. You are no longer performing for an invisible audience. You are no longer postponing life until it reaches a level that seems meaningful enough. You are here, and that is already sufficient. This changes how life is lived. When there is no final destination imposed from above, duration loses its tyranny. Living longer is no longer the main objective. Living more fully becomes the question. Intensity replaces accumulation. Presence replaces performance. You begin to notice the body again, not as a tool to be optimized, but as a place where life actually happens. The sensation of breathing, the warmth of the sun, the fatigue after effort, the simple truth that you are alive right now, not later, not symbolically, but physically. Creation changes too. You create without the need to last forever. A meal prepared with care, a sentence written honestly, a garden tended without worrying who will remember it. These acts do not aim at eternity. They aim at reality, and that is enough. Love also becomes simpler and deeper. You love without turning it into destiny, without asking it to save you or give your life a final meaning. You love because sharing existence intensifies it, because moments lived together weigh more than moments lived alone. And when love ends, if it ends, it does not erase what was lived. It remains real because it was experienced fully. Nothing here requires belief. Nothing requires illusion. You are not asked to hope that everything will make sense one day. You are invited to pay attention now. Life does not need meaning to be lived fully. It needs attention. It needs presence. It needs the courage to remain awake inside ordinary moments. And when you live this way, without waiting for permission, without demanding explanations, something unexpected happens. The absurd no longer feels like a threat. It becomes a space where you can move, create, feel, and choose. Now, let us return to Sisyphus one last time. Sisyphus, not at the summit, not at the moment of effort, but during the descent, the quiet walk back down the mountain, the pause between what has fallen and what must be lifted again. This is the moment I cared about most. Here, Sisyphus is fully aware. He knows exactly what awaits him. There is no illusion left, no hope that the task will suddenly change, no expectation of a final reward. And yet, he walks, not dragged, not broken, present. In this descent, the rock is no longer a punishment. It has lost its cruelty. It becomes a rhythm, a companion, a fact of life, something that exists, not to justify existence, but to give it a shape. The mountain does not promise happiness. It offers a path, and Sisyphus accepts it with open eyes. This is where peace appears, not the peace of answers, but the peace of clarity. Nothing is hidden anymore. There is no meaning waiting at the end of the road. There is only the road itself and the way you choose to walk it. So why do we live if life offers no explanation? Not because life promises meaning, not because suffering will be redeemed, not because the universe is secretly kind. We live because living consciously is already something, because to feel, to choose, to create, to love, even briefly, even imperfectly, is a way of answering silence without denying it. Continuing is not naive. It is dignified. It is the quiet refusal to disappear. It is a decision to remain awake in a world that does not guarantee comfort. It is pushing the rock again, not in hope of victory, but in fidelity to yourself. You do not need to win against the absurd. You do not need to solve it. You only need to stand within it, breathing, attentive, alive. In that stance, something simple and solid emerges, a strange form of happiness, stripped of illusions, grounded in reality. If staying awake is already courage, what if that was enough? I hope to meet you again, here on Sleepless Society. My fellow insomniacs and I will be here by the fire, keeping watch with no answers, only presence. Until then, take care of yourself, as one living being does when the night is long, gently, lucidly.